Hi and welcome to Simply Ballers 2024-2025 season previews. It's that time of the year where for the next 30 days I'll be releasing a season preview for each team. In each preview there will be a quick season and off-season recap. Then following that we'll be looking at what's in store for each team. We'll be looking at some of the key questions that they have, some of the positives, some of the negatives. It will be digging deeper in some of those areas. And at the end there are some final thoughts with prediction of the standings, their floor, their ceiling, some of the playoff chances, and some other fun predictions. Today we're going through the Utah Jazz, and their season was one of those teams where they took a year or so too late when it comes to embracing the rebuild. They hit the reset button last year at the deadline, so this was their first full year of embracing that. This was their first full year after trading Rudy Gobert, after trading Donovan Mitchell, after trading Mike Conley and everyone else. This year they came in with a whole different team that wasn't looking to win. They came in with 3 rookies: Keyonte George, Taylor Hendricks, and Bryce Sinspo. 6 players that were 23 or younger that got at least 500 minutes. This was a completely different team compared to last year, where they were kind of somewhat competitive and then they looked to sell. This was already a sold team for the most part, and that's why this season went the way they did. With the infuse of young players that took a lot more minutes, that did mean taking a step back on both ends of the floor. Lauri Markkanen missing 27 games also helped that. They were plus 0.6 with him, and they were minus 9.4 without him. So his time missed was perhaps also contributed to hit how much they tanked towards the end of the year. But the biggest reason for the drop-off was their defense. They were dead last in allowing 120.9 points per 100 possessions. Now that makes sense. Looking at the team, none of the guys in a rotation are known as game-changing defenders. Even their best player in Markkanen, he's not a great defender that changes a team's defense. And it's going to be hard to win games with the worst defense. That affects everything else. That affects the effort on offense. It's tough to establish a culture, a winning culture, winning habits with one of the worst defenses, and that's why their season was just focusing on young players, giving all the reps. With Markkanen out, it was losing even more, just focusing more on those on the young rebuild. And their off season was doubling down on that. It had 3 first-round picks, where they used it on Cody Williams with a 10th overall pick, Isaac Collier with 29th, and Kyle Filipovsky at 32nd. And just looking at some other draft experts, they liked their draft. They liked all of their picks. When it comes to just at the draft position where they pick them, all of them seems to be wins. Some of them seem to be high upside, high potential players. The other focus of the offseason was all about Markkanen. There were so many rumors about him being traded elsewhere. There was so many rumors before about them needing to move on from him. Especially when there's a player that's not entirely young that fits your team, whether when he's also too good, he makes your team too good at times, and it's also looking to getting paid. There was always going to be a discussion about moving him because of all those reasons, and that's why every piece was coming up with so many trade packages that don't even make sense for a lot of the teams. But we don't have to worry about that, at least for now. With him renegotiating the extension, he will be on this team for the whole year. He's going to be making more. He's going to max money as well, and that's solid for the Jazz. I didn't expect them to trade him, or I don't think that was a good idea. You keep players like Markkanen, even if you're a bad team, a rebuilding team. He's on a good deal, even at max money for what he does. They shouldn't have moved on from it, unless it's a package that you just can't refuse. But that was literally their season, the off season. We're locking up Markkanen for at least 1 year and bringing in more young players to just embrace the rebuild. They have so many young players now. They can just focus on giving all of them reps and hoping one or two of those picks pan out where they have star potential. So what's in store for the Jazz this year? I have a few questions. How will the 3 rookies look? What will their development look like? Some experts said a couple of them have star potential. There's Cody Williams that could grow into someone. Will Jordan Clarkson and John Collins finish the season in Utah? I don't expect them to. Those are kind of vets that shouldn't be on this team, especially Clarkson. At his age, with what he does, with what he brings, and how he's used, he shouldn't be on this team anymore. Should they also explore trading Colin Sexton? He's another example of marketing where he's not the youngest player, not the oldest. He fits somewhere in between, who either is looking to get paid or is on a big contract. I think that's in a similar spot with Laurie, where I don't think they should move on from him unless it's a package that you just can't refuse. What about the sophomores as well? They'll be focused on that. We'll be focused on George Hendricks. Can they take some leaps? And also, will Markkanen continue his elite play the way he has over the last 2 seasons? And will there be more flashes of self-creation that could put him in the upper tier of stars? He's making max money, and right now he's been an elite off-ball option. He can score at the rim. He's a ridiculously elite 3-point shooter, especially at his size. Even not considering his size, he's one of the best at it, with how he gets those threes in the first place. But I wonder if there is a world where he ups himself when it comes to his passing, his defense, or his self-creation that puts him in their top 20, top 15 level player. The most important thing for them is all about the young players. As good as Laurie can be, as good as Colin Sexton can be, we already know roughly what they are, especially at their age. Everything about the Jazz season is about embracing every single young player and seeing what core they have. That's the only thing that matters in the grand scheme of things when it comes to just the future, going into next season and so on. It's seeing what core they have. The first one is just looking at the potential jumps from returning players with George Hendricks. George was the main one here. For the season, he averaged 17 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists per 75 possessions, with a 48% effective field goal and 53% true shooting. Clearly, there's a lot to improve on. There's a lot to improve on when it comes to efficiency as well. He had a 54% 3-point rate, but he's shooting 33% there. He's already taken over 10 threes per 100 possession. Either the volume needs to cut down or the shooting needs to improve drastically, because he's chucking them up, and shooting 33% is not going to cut it. That feels a lot. Not sure if they're similar play styles or how they play, but that just feels a lot Jalen Greenish, where the volume is really high up there, but it's just streaky 33-point shooter as well. But then his 3-point scoring isn't great either. Considering him as a rookie, he shot 60% at the rim, 43% in the short mid-range, and 34% in the long mid-range. His splits as a starter are even worse, where he averaged 15 points and 5 assists per game on 51% true shooting with 24% usage. Now, this isn't counting him out. He's a rookie. He's a rookie guard that makes things even worse. It's just to note that there's a lot in progress. There's a lot that he needs to work on and improve on to even see what he is. Moving on to the rookies, is exactly where they were last year, where they had 3 rookies coming in. They have 3 more rookies coming in this year, and it's all about them showing what they have. You have Cody Williams, who some of his senior described as one of his favorite wings when it comes to upsides. A 6'7" wing with a 7'1" wingspan, a typical lengthy athletic wing. That will help a lot with the defense. The teams that was one of the worst defensive team will happy to have a lengthy wing that could do everything. But at the same time, many predict him to be a project at the moment, especially if his jumper takes a while to develop. But at the same time, they do have time. They do have the right situation to give him reps, to make his life a bit easier with some better players, to just give him all the development reps that he needs to accelerate his growth. Next is Isaiah Collier, a 6'3" guard, where a bunch of draft profiles mention him that he could either be very good or just a backup. So it's another high upside swing that could turn out the way they want to, but will likely need time and plenty of development to develop. It's another instance of Williams. But again, they have the time and they have the situation to do so. Then finally is Filipovsky, a 6'11" center, potentially floor spacing big, and if that's legit and it happens soon, I would like to see, just for fun, a fun lineup of size of him, Markkanen, and Kessler, just for the fun of it. Three guys that are that are 7 or almost 7 foot. Plus, having another big body is always going to be good, especially for the worst team's defense. Beyond the rookies, beyond the young players, as it is typical for many rebuilding teams, it's the question of what should we do with the vets. They have plenty of them. It's when should they pull the trigger of trading either Collins or Clarkson? Should they trade them just for the sake of trading them? Because we know what Clarkson is. He's 32 years old now. He can get you buckets on high volume shots. He's entirely efficient. He also did have a down year this year. He takes a lot of threes. And that's it. He's not a defender. He's not a passer. He's a reliable ball handler that could take some reps off some young players. But that's about it. His impact metrics have been declining each year. He was plus 1.4 in 2022, plus 0.3 last year, and he's all the way in minus 2.5 this year. He had the worst impact in his career, so he also shouldn't be the one that you just look to keep to help others. But at the same time, you may also play in to just regain that trade value to flip him at the trade deadline. Collins is a more interesting question because that was his first year with the Jazz after being traded from the Hawks, where he spent 6 seasons there. But what even is Collins? He's going to be 27 years old. He's not an all-star player. He's a decent low-volume three-point shooter. He's an efficient guy. He can get you He can get you good shots at the rim. He'll finish well. That's beneficial. He shot 75% at the rim with almost 40% of his shots there. He's a good player. He's a solid, young-ish player that will do good stuff. But again, what's the vision here with him? He's 27 years old. Do you want him to take some of the reps from the young players? How much is he actually helping your young players? How much is he actually making their life easier for them? I don't see the need to trade him either. As they should, like in the same way as they should with Clarkson, because of his age. Because he's an athletic rim finisher that can make threes. There is value in having him. There's still potential of him growing into a much more impactful player, but at the same time, he also had his worst impactful defensive season. There's so many times with Collins where he has some good stuff, but there's there's another negative with him as well. He's never been in a great situation in Atlanta, and yet his impact metric has never been this bad with how it was in the Jazz. So I wonder if that's going to be a bounce back there, because he could still be an impactful player for the Jazz, both in terms of this year and going forward. This is a similar situation to Colin Sexton. What do you do with him? Do you also simply sell everything, sell every vet, sell every young-ish player for more picks and more assets, so that you could round out your core? Because Sexton did have a solid season for them. He's only 25 years old, and as a star, he averaged 21 points, 2 rebounds, and 5 assists on 61% true shooting with 28% usage. He can get to the rim a lot. He shoots well at the rim as well. He shot 69% at the rim. He can handle the ball. This is one of the cases where he is at the age where he's already good and can help situations where young players will have a better chance to develop. With someone like George Williams, and then you have players that just need someone to take the ease off when it comes to ball handling duties. Sexton can do that. Sexton can be an effective ball handler, attack the rim, put the defense in rotations. He can make everyone else's life easier. There's still Lauri that we need to talk about, because he's still on the team. He didn't get moved after all the rumors that possibly had him going to the Warriors or elsewhere. He got extended. He got his contract renegotiated, where he's earning max money now. I don't think he's going to be part of the long-term vision, but right now he's on the team. He's going to help this team. They're going to need Lauri to just make life easier for everyone else. They have a lot of guards, so having a big that can play off the ball, doesn't need the ball as much, will help everyone else. And there's also the chances of him taking a potential leap where you don't need to move him then. He's still a young player, where he's only 27 years old. there's a lot that he could still improve on that could change what he can bring to the team. Because what happens if some of those picks that they drafted in these 2 years pan out? What if they hit the draft in 2025 and they get a superstar? Then that's when you need players like Laurie on the team, and that's what he could bring. He's an elite player that can get you an efficient bucket from anywhere on the court. He's a 7-foot player that shoots over 40% on over 10 threes per 100 possession. He shoots 70% at the rim. He's shooting 45% in the short mid-range. He's efficient everywhere you want to look. And with his size, that makes everything more different. He's scoring 1.12 points per possession on spot-ups. He's also scoring 1.12 points off screens with 55% effective field goal. So he's an elite off-ball scorer at 7 feet. He can do whatever you want him to do. And that's what he's shown for the last 2 seasons, and I think that's there to stay. But there's also the question of if he can take another leap, because right now he's mostly off ball. He's mostly just capitalizing off players. Even if you run plays for him when he's coming off the screens, he's not a self-creator. He's not that kind of passer as well. But what if he takes a leap in that department? What if he goes from a very, very good player that can fit alongside stars to being a star when it comes to self-creation, when it comes to running the offense through him, giving him more touches? What do you do then? Because then you have a elite offensive player that could do both things on a locked up deal, and he's still only 27 years old. That just gives Utah Jazz more flexibility on what you could do, whether it's moving him or keeping him as your part of your core. So some predictions. I think they will be good around for 35 wins, but in the end they will decide to lose. They could win more games if they wanted to. They could win more games if they prioritize some of the rotations and not giving them as much touches to young players. But this is going to be a stacked draft in 2025, so there's no incentive for them to win. So the worst case scenario is they'll be near the bottom of the West, and that's it. The ceiling is they'll be knocking at the door on the 10 seeds, but I just don't see that happening because there's no incentive for them to make the play-in to just take themselves out of getting a top pick. But on that note, they are also elite offensively with 2 of their best players. With Laurie and with Laurie on, they had a 120.2 offense. Add Sexton to it, it goes to 1.22. Take them both off and drops to 108. So when they have all their players on, they're a good team, especially offensively. So I don't know how you balance that out, especially when you do want to lose. They had a good luck with Laurie missing games towards the end, where they went 9-18. They went 22-30 without him, and that could be the difference between getting a guy you want and missing out on a guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did sell on the other vets and also just look to embrace the tank by shortening the rotations, by adjusting the rotations, having more of a young player just take the reign and just limit some of those touches for the old guys. Overall, they have plenty of young players, as good as Laurie is, as good as Sexton is, as good as of a potential bounce back John Collins may have. They're not going to be a good team. They have an elite offense with all the players on, but they also have a god awful defense, and I don't see that happen. I don't see that changing anytime soon. And even with an elite offense and one of the worst defenses, they're going to be losing games. You add the incentive to lose games as well. They probably shouldn't be a good team come post deadline. So right now I'm putting them around 25 to 30 wins, with them landing 14th in the West.